In the last episode, we considered the capital three, the three major resources that are necessary for us to make the most of our time, to get more done out of the exact same time available to everyone else. We looked at how time is the great equalizer, but the correct maximization of these three major resources, the resource of wisdom, the resource of strength, and the resource of wealth, is what determines how much we're able to get done within the time frame available to us. And now in this episode, we're going to be looking at the interplay of these three resources, the interplay of wisdom, wealth, and strength, and how these three can work together, how one can amplify the other and create a multiplier effect. To start with, I want to say that looking at these three resources, you might be tempted to think that they are three isolated resources, three separate resources. But the truth is, these three are deeply interconnected, very, very much interconnected. And I'll show you. Let's take for an example, you have wealth, you have abundance of financial resource, financial assets, and you couple that even with a strong team, a strong network of people backing you, meaning you have wealth and you have strength, but you lack wisdom. This particular combination is actually still a recipe for disaster, because without the wisdom to guide you, you might still waste these resources. You might still waste the finances on ineffective strategies, poor decisions, misguided priorities. But when you have wisdom in play, when wisdom enters the mix, it just provides clarity, it provides direction. It gives you access to experiential knowledge that probably you did not even have time to acquire by yourself. So it helps you allocate wealth wisely, mobilize your strength effectively in such a way that you form a well-rounded, a well-oiled machine that is driving exponential growth. And that way you can maximize the wealth and the strength that you have. So the abundance of wealth and strength still does not guarantee that you will make the most out of your time if you are lacking in wisdom. You see that? That's how interconnected these three resources are. If we also want to look at it, the place of wealth cannot be underestimated in this triad of resources. If you are full of wisdom, the know-how, the strategy to get things done, but you lack the resources to execute, you are going to be limited. You are going to have strategies written down. You are going to have them on paper, but nothing is going to happen. Execution is going to be crippled. So what wealth does is it gives you the tools. It gives you access to opportunity to bring your wisdom to life. It allows you to have enough resources to invest in the education, buy tools, hire skilled people, buy the experience that they've gained over time with wealth. Even to build your team, to amplify your strength of people, you will need wealth. This is showing us here that even financial resources cannot be left out. It cannot be discarded in this trial, which further exemplify what I mentioned, that these three resources are interconnected, deeply interconnected. So with wealth, you can amplify strength. With wealth, you can buy wisdom. You can attract top talent. You can gain access to influential circles because you have enough money to buy your way in. Now, talking of strength, the fact that you have wisdom and you have wealth, you know what to do, you know how to do, you have the best experts, you have the best consultants on the team, and you have the enough financial resources to get things done, does not mean your vision will still not struggle, does not mean your projects will still not struggle if you don't have the right human resource. The network capital, the human capital that it takes to bring things to life is a vital element in this trial. And when I say your network capital, your human capital, I'm not just talking about staffs. I'm also talking about networks. I'm also talking about advocates, people that can spread the word, people that can influence, bring your project, bring your matter to the table where it matters. That's part of strength. And when your strength works alongside wisdom and wealth, your impact is exponential. You can think of it like a relay race where wisdom is the strategy for you to win the race. You have a strategy in place to win the race, and wealth provides the baton to run the race. But something is still needed. There's something you must not overlook. There's something you must not underestimate. It is the place of strength. Strength is what ensures that baton reaches the finishing line. Strength ensures that you have enough people at significant points to pass the baton to each other till you reach the finish line. So we see here that when these three resources interact seamlessly, they've successfully created a system that's far more powerful than the sum of its parts. So your job is not about finding the one that is most important. Your job is really about how you balance and integrate all the three. And this balance is what really determines your capacity to maximize time and achieve significant progress. To further understand the interplay of these three resources, I want us to explore a popular framework that came out of the work of Seth Godin on building thriving tribes. And it's a framework called the 3C framework. It's the framework of content, community, and commerce. This framework illustrates how you can build any thriving tribe, profitable tribe, from having quality content being released to a community of people that are interested in this content, interested enough to share it with somebody else. And the cycle goes on to a point where you can offer things that are monetizable, to a point where you can commercialize and even make financial returns from this network. This model shows us how to build a successful venture from maximizing these 3Cs. And if you look very carefully, these 3Cs are actually a type of the 3 resources that we've considered earlier. The 3C is the C of content, the C of community, the C of commerce. The C of content there represents the resource of wisdom. The C of community there represents the resource of strength. And the C of commerce there represents the resource of wealth. If you look closely at that, you see that content there represents the value you provide in ideas, products, services, content, blog posts, your expertise that you are sharing that draws people to you, that draws people to that community. And the community part of this framework talks about the people that engage with your content, that engage with your ideas, your products, your audience, your customers, your support team. That's your strength. That's the community. That's building a community that nurtures the interaction between these people. And the third one being commerce. Commerce there being the economic engine that sustains your effort. So the economic oil that greases the entire flow. Monetizing your content, monetizing the community through, let's say, subscriptions, other forms of revenue streams that you can actually make wealth from. So if you consider and look at this framework very well, those 3 C's are actually a type. They are actually a type of the capital 3 resource that we earlier explored and then that we've looked at. So in this framework, you can see these elements, they are interdependent. Even in this 3C framework, content, the community, and the commerce are interdependent. You can't have commerce if there is no content. You can't have commerce if there is no community, because there's nobody to sell to. There's no means of selling and there's nobody to sell to. There is no usefulness of a community if there is no content. There's no usefulness of a community. There is no usefulness of people gathering around an idea that is not being shared and passed around. So this cyclical relationship, it shows us the interplay of wisdom, wealth, and strength. It shows us the importance of creating a system of balance, a system that forms a flywheel that in turn just fuels each other, and then it just goes round and round and round. Now, this is what I want us to look at in this episode as touching the interplay of these resources. We've looked at how these resources are connected to each other and how they can in turn fuel each other and create a flywheel. I want you to take a moment to reflect. Pause and look at your career. Look at that project you are working on. Look at that business you are building. How does these three resources play their part? Which of it do you have? Which of it do you not have? How can you use one to get the other? How can you use wealth to get wisdom? How can you use wealth to buy strength? How can you use wisdom to get wealth? How can you use wisdom to get strength? How can you deploy the strength you have to get more wealth? How can you deploy the strength you have to get more wisdom? How can you leverage the network of people to get wisdom? How can you extract more wisdom beyond what you yourself can personally harness from your own experiences and your own learnings? These are the things you need to do in maximizing and getting more productive results from your time. These three resources are like the master, let me call them the fundamental resources that every other resource you need are tied to. In fact, every other significant resource are in one way or the other a type of these three fundamental resources. I want to hear what you think from the comment section. I want to hear the major thoughts, the major ideas that came to you. I want to hear what are the things that spurred, what are the things that sparked, what did this episode spur in your heart? What are the new thoughts that you are having? I want to hear them all. Just drop them in the comment section. You can share this episode with somebody. That's Spotify, YouTube, AudioMark, Apple Podcast. And I would love to see you on the next one. Take charge.